Yo, 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 it is Monday, July 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's your TA report with Bags and JFDI and G Pies. Hey guys, great talking to you yet again.
Yes. Yeah. Hello. I love the way you say my name.
G Pies.
That's right.
Well, it's better than me butchering Goto.
That's actually better, but either one works. As long as you're talking to me, we're happy.
Hey, I'm talking to you.
You're talking to me?
All right, I'm putting out the tweet and the twat right now. Live TA report, SPY, QQQ, XLE, come get some.
You can't tweet anymore. You got to exit.
Or whatever.
Exit.
Let's not deny about me going in on about Elon. All right, like that can be a whole show. We've done parts of shows in the past. I could probably pull together the bites of all my Elon rants, and it wraps up to be 2 shows. We don't need to go there tonight.
So that's the reason why you can't go from stock Twitch to Twitter now?
Yeah, they broke the API.
Shut down the API, basically.
Oh, that's lame. Okay.
Yeah, it's totally lame.
Well,
all right. So there's the twat, and now here comes the tweet, and we're flying. We're going. We may have a guest with us tonight, a Monkey Banana Genius. Send him the Zoom, but we'll see if he joins. And so we'll leave the XLE commentary to if he shows up. So let's just go to the cues. There's a lot of fear out there for some reason, GP. And I saw you were talking about everyone is in puts. I've actually done really good trading puts the last 3 sessions. So I'm not mad, but they've been day trades. They've been out. They've been 20-25% bangers. But you're seeing more people go long. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, people were starting to go long on puts.
Yeah, it was funny, right? Like I was watching the action on Thursday and Friday, going into UpX. Every chance to kind of like blow through all levels, and yet we had 2 down days, and the Friday didn't even confirm on volume, right? And if you look at trends in general, in uptrends, Fridays usually close strong and Mondays start weak, right? It's how you finish, it's not how you start. And so you could argue that on Thursday and Friday, we finished weak, but typically if you've looked at charts over a long period of time, that Friday volume should have been a lot higher than the Thursday volume, in my opinion. And you didn't see that. So it was like that trepidatious, kind of like, I should sell this because everyone's telling me to sell this, but I really don't want to sell this kind of move. And look, man, we're green already on Monday. And so what you have to watch for here is that how do we finish the week, right? So will this be back-to-back weeks of selling into the close of the week, right? Are we going to finish? We're going to start strong and finish weak. And if that's the case, you're probably looking at potential exit liquidity for people who have been riding the trend up. So stuff to watch. It didn't feel like that's the case to me. It feels like it's going to chop here before we take out all-time highs. That's me, but I don't think there's too many people in that camp after last week's candle.
yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but I didn't really, I kind of had expected it, but I wasn't necessarily wanting it. I wanted to see, Tesla and Netflix kind of rip out of there, almost kind of in NVIDIA fashion, and kind of see like the NVIDIA type run become like a theme of 2023.
But I think that's the thing that everyone was expecting. So I think it was skewed for earnings on the call side. So obviously what the market is expecting versus what we actually get is what you got on Thursday and Friday, right? And so like Netflix earnings were pretty damn good. Their subscribers number, yeah, the revenue came in a little light, which means they're not getting as much money out of their subscriber base, but that's expected. They're introducing a lower ad tier and they're growing their business. It's only been 2 earnings now that they started growing their ad business, maybe 3 earnings. So you should start to see this trying to kind of accelerate to the upside on their revenue while they're still trying to figure out like, hey, well, now you have another earnings report saying we grew subscriber base by 6 million in the last quarter. They haven't seen that kind of growth in a while. So advertisers will be like, oh, interesting. So they're now starting to reaccelerate their earnings, their sub growth, which means we can probably now spend a bit more ad money, right? So you should start to see this accelerate more in like a general state of mark. But everything, both those got sold into their respective 8 and 9 week moving averages, literally to the penny. And you're like, okay, this is garbage. This is the shake, right? Or before the bake. And so that was my thought process.
Tesla's candle a lot better today than Netflix's, though.
Netflix was a hammer, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
In the range that it's been in since
June.
Beginning of June?
Yeah.
So basically for the last 2 months it's gone nowhere. And then it hammered off this kind of off this move down. And so if you asked anyone on Friday, I can pretty much guarantee you this, everyone was going to be shorting Netflix and Tesla.
Yep, everybody was shorting
everything, but specifically shorting Netflix and Tesla based on the 2 candles prior, right? And what did we see on both of these charts today? Even though Netflix was last minute crap, because it's a low floater ultimately.
I mean, I had a lot of orders kind of low 240. It's like 240, 241. And 242, like just kind of down there right above the 50-day on Tesla, thinking that we would kind of see some initial kind of like panic selling flush out.
Yeah.
And kind of, I guess, I don't know.
And what did we see? We saw a small blip under Friday's low and a reversal and a bullish engulfing, right? And we reclaimed the 20-day estimated moving average, or exponential moving average, whatever you guys want to call it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When you're looking at these, it's always about time frame conversation. So if you looked at the weekly chart on Tesla, it was a direct hit to the weekly 8 SMA. And if you were looking at like indicators, nothing really flipped on the weekly. So like, why are you inherently bearish off of a daily candle, right? And
yeah, right.
Yeah. So like all your moving averages are still trending up. Your MACD has not started to roll over. The RSI really hasn't started to roll over. Kind of reset a little bit, and it's I thought I would have seen a bigger rollover on both of those, but when I looked at the chart, I'm like, there wasn't much rollover. So to me, that was like, this is your shake before the bake. And I know it's only one day, and tomorrow we could have a bearish engulfing, but this is the stuff that you kind of look for, right? Is there going to be continuity in this move? And there wasn't a lot of things suggesting it to me. And you could say off the open
before you bake them.
Yeah, and off the open it was weak, right? And everyone's like, look, and boom, where did we close? We reversed what, 13 points higher, 14 points higher?
Yeah,
15 points higher. So it's just the little tidbits of information that you discover along the way on what to look for, right? And I posted something on Twitter about Tesla, and one of the comments was, the chart doesn't look that way. And I'm like, well, then you're not looking at the right chart.
I've been doing great off that first 15-minute trade. And if you look here at, Tesla, like it gave you that, right? Like here's the high, here's the low. It never retested the low off the first 15 minutes. It retested the high and then was gone. I mean, that would have been an easy trade to take today had I been in it.
Yeah. So
Hey,
there's
no, Nick, you were going to say something?
Oh, from just the traders kind of, when you have rules in place, what you got to follow your own kind of rules though too. Like, price was trending in Tesla. Like if your rules warranted selling out part of your position based on like whether it's the 10-day or 20-day, MA getting taken out, you got to kind of follow that. Cause I got stopped out of probably, I don't know, a good third of my Tesla on a break of the 20-day. I had every intention of buying that all back on a 50-day test, but it doesn't, I mean, I guess kind of who knows if I'll get that opportunity at this point, but I'm just saying, for the guys out there that are listening that are more on the trader side of things, hey, follow your rules too. That's all I was trying to, tongue-tied.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like, specific to Tesla, I've not been in Tesla for a minute, but I mean, this looks like a pretty good retest right here to the downtrend line if I'm looking at the weekly.
Yeah, for sure.
It caught the 9. GP was referencing to it, reclaimed the 20. And you still have some meat on the bone here, right? Like you can take this trade up to 313-ish, where I put this blue line here, I feel like. And above that, I mean, it's going back to all-time highs. Yeah. So I like the Tesla trade right here. I have no position, so I'm not talking my book, but if I were so inclined, it would be really attractive to me to at least throw a starter on.
Good initiate something. Yeah.
One thing we were talking about last week, Nick, was old Coinbase, right? And what I thought about coin, and we're in that 90s area. It fell into like 95 today. Again, keeping the porridge just right. I think this is still a good level. I know GP's like it's already run a lot, and it has. But if you believe it's going higher, which I do believe it is, this was a position that I looked at today. I was like, do I want to add some more here? I didn't. I didn't add any longs on today. I was just doing my quick day trade, but it's kind of doing what I would hope it would do, like faff around in those 90s for a little while and really establish a base. So it wouldn't be the worst thing to see that do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the candle it put in today. It did run pretty far, pretty quickly. I did. I know I was looking at it. I had set an alert at 88.77.
The 20-day.
Yeah. And then I also set an alert at 92.15.
And if you're looking at the candle here, it's a doji candle, which means it's indecision.
Yeah.
And it's the lowest volume of all these sets of consolidation candles, right? So you could potentially argue that indecision on lower volume means potential reversal coming here, right? So this is probably one to watch for tomorrow to see if it starts to show relative strength.
Yeah, good call.
Well, we have several things happening this week. We have Fed speak, right? We have huge earnings this week, so it could be a volatile week. But I tweeted this morning that I think today's dip was the dip to buy. I think we're going to have a strong week. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. But I'm still in the IWM camp. I'm still in the small caps camp right now. That doesn't mean like these big techs can't pop some more. But I still think that of all the setups, IWM still has some more to go, while the S&P and SPY have led the way for months.
What are you thinking, like 230, like a run to like 230?
Yeah, well, I mean, you still got to clear this range above 200.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see getting back up here to around that 230 area for sure.
That's kind of what I was. Kind of same
Because
thing.
listen,
If we get a break over 200,
banks are
that's where I
hot,
think we're
right?
going.
Banks are hot. If the energy sector stays hot, which I don't think necessarily those two things will happen together, you have, you know, I just think you have a nice recipe for the small caps to continue to go higher. As Big Greeny says, shitco summer raves on.
Yeah. I like small caps. I honestly think they're going to outperform for the entire quarter.
Yeah.
But I've been in that camp for a while, and everyone's starting to join, so it makes me nervous when that.
Crowded.
Yeah, exactly. So, I still like it. I have my September calls and further, so see where it goes. But the time was not to like buy earlier, right? To when
Yeah, for
IV
sure.
was very compressed. So
Yeah, for sure.
it I like it. I think the rotation thing is really hot right now, and everyone is looking for catch-up trades because everything else. So I like, to me, it's with the contrarian in me, I guess, is like, yeah, we don't know. Like I was in the camp that we're gonna outperform here on the small caps, and now I'm more like, well, now everyone's in that camp. So watch everything else that everyone thinks that's not gonna perform anymore. Like, I think, how many people were giving up on NVIDIA here?
Yeah.
Saying that's it, that's the
Right.
end of. I saw a lot
Broadcom.
of charts,
Broadcom too.
right? And people are like, well, that's the end of the move. And I was like,
Yeah.
is it? Is it really? Is it really the end of the move, guys? Or is it just what it's been doing in the entire year? Right?
Broadcom has been a monster. They're going to split that thing before too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broadcom. My only issue with Broadcom is the low float, right? And so when you're doing options, the spreads on low floaters are just absolutely awful, and then moves are pretty exponential. But Broadcom, that big red nasty candle,
Yeah.
on what day was that? That was
was a
May
Thursday, I
30th,
think.
right? May 30th. We've essentially been in the top part of that entire wick this whole time since then, right?
Yeah. That's so
So
amazing.
I think
It's
that's
so
showing
amazing.
strength.
Yeah.
What I'd be watching for Broadcom, because that was an ugly red candle, is that if we get to the 921.78 level, watch for potential rejection, because I think if that rejects pretty hard, then there's room for concern there. But if it's like a small kind of like, hey, it's 921.78, I'm going to sell it to 915 and then run back up, that's, I guess, what you got to watch for is the price action once it gets to that level. But everything to me on the chart is saying that the last 3, 4, 5 weeks we've spent in the upper part of that daily wick. So that means people are still trying to get long in the upper part of that candle, which isn't kind of insane, right? After the move it's had. So yeah, definitely something to watch. But
well, we've given Monkey 20 minutes, and he's not shut up. He has apparently not wished to partake in this discussion. But I'm a little less bearish, XLE GP. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm gonna keep it real.
I'm there. I hear you.
I posted this earlier today. I think 87 is the pivot. Above 87 favors the Bulls. Below 87 favors the Bears. And I don't see a reason why it can't get there. But it's not there yet. So that's where I'm at. So I'm keeping an open mind. But at the same time, I've been fooled before, so I'm less likely to be fooled again. Maybe, I don't know, but that's my thesis. Is 87's the point.
So what I will say on a lot of these conversations for me is always starting from the larger time frame and working down, right? So on the monthly, we're still in a we're in a bear MACD cross. I don't see the MACD curling up yet. So it's possible after this month that we start to see the MACD start to curl up. The RSI is actually negatively diverges. Like, so in April, it closed at 85.13 for the month of April is where XLE closed. We are already at 85.66 here, and the RSI is actually lower than where it was in April. But we haven't closed July yet, so there's still stuff to kind of watch and stuff. I'm obviously, I don't care, to be honest. Like I've always said, I think there's better trades up there. Personally, it's kind of in like a no man's or no person's area, and there's still stuff for me to figure out. But I called it. I think I said it last week. I was like, it's actually a 3-week tight, right? And we had a pretty good week last week. And you had the MACD on the weekly cross up, so there's definitely stuff to pay attention to. But you also see the required strength to go lower price is it's higher, right? So there's a few things that still kind of smell to me, but it's definitely looking better. And I'm happy to be wrong, man.
That was decidedly less bearish than I imagined from you.
No, man, I'm price action, right? So if price action, my charts on monthly timeframes down to weekly timeframes down to daily timeframes was at the time and suggesting that it was not a good place to be, and it looked like distribution. If it's a reaccumulation phase or if it was just a consolidation phase, then the charts will start to show it. It hasn't 100% yet, but I'm pretty sure it will now. So you got to pivot, right? I'm not stuck to one side.
Nice breakout on the RSI too on the daily. I mean, it looks constructive. I like using that term as constructive. I don't like it just yet, but it looks constructive.
Yeah, it definitely looks constructive, and I think I would say 87 seems like the right kind of pivot, so to speak. I mean, but ideally I would want it to take out 94, right? That's the point where you're kind of, because we're still making higher lows on the daily. Ever since that 94, we are still making higher lows. So the first thing you want to see, like for a real bull, is to see a higher low here.
Hey
Nick, are you ready to jump in some gush?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say OIH broke out of that. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Broke out of that kind of high, tight little flag on the daily today. I hadn't really been looking at gush, but I mean, today would have been a good. Kind of looks like kind of through that pivot of the 138.47, but.
And I believe that's been my stance this whole time: is services will outperform producers.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so OIH has been exactly where I think you should focus, and it's starting to show up, right? So
I might take a stab at the old ERX.
What is it? SLB is the top component of the OIH, I believe.
That's what I was just about. I just literally Googled it.
And if you're looking at the chart of SLB versus XOM, if you're looking at the chart of XLB versus CVX or XOM, which one do you think you should be long?
God, SLB looks so good. That daily chart is really
the slob.
Man.
Schlumberger.
So I think I've been talking about OIH since March, outperforming XLE. So I'm curious if that's. I haven't even looked at it. Has that been true?
Say that again.
So around March is when I was saying OIH will outperform XLE, right? If you want to be long energy, I think you're long energy names that are in OIH, not XLE.
Sure.
So I think it was like March 20th or 23rd is when I was saying that, or early March. And OIH then was I think it closed at like 250, 260, somewhere around there. And now it's at 336. And what's XLE done since then? What was XLE in March?
God, even look at rig.
Yeah, XLE was 78 and we're at 85. So far it's outperforming.
There's your strength, yeah. OIH versus XLE.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yes, I'm less bearish on XLE if that's the question.
Hey guys, you want to take a few charts?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We already chatted Netflix and Tesla a little bit. Anything else to add?
No,
Either
not
one of
much.
those. No. Let's talk about something that got kicked right square in the pants.
No, man, it did.
Roblox. All is not lost for the Roblox, but it's not looking great, in my opinion.
No.
Actually, I might take a starter.
I mean, might as well versus that 200 day.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why I always hate IPOs, because every time it looks like it's gonna go, it just cucks you in the mouth.
I mean, Airbnb finally won that freaking IPO.
I was looking at the Airbnb chart and I don't know if it will go. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, it broke over 130.
It's 147.62 as of the close.
Yeah, but it still needs to take out what's that high there?
I mean, let's just. I mean, it's.
I think it's pushing.
It's up 50% since June, and in 2 months it's up 50%. Let's say we don't know how good. Like, we would all take 50% in about 6 to 8 weeks. We'd be happy with that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's I mean, I don't know how much further it'll run, but it has run.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying is like these IPOs take some time, right? Especially some businesses figure out faster and they move faster. So I don't see the accumulation in Airbnb as I would need to say that it will run, but things happen, things will run.
How's our AMD Intel?
Intel's done nothing for weeks and weeks.
Oh, I know.
AMD is definitely a frustrating.
Still stronger.
Is AMD stronger?
It is.
Than Intel?
Yeah.
They look equally crappy to me.
Yeah,
they look delicious. How dare you talk about my semiconductors like that? Speaking of semiconductors, we haven't talked about NVIDIA for a little bit. There we go. It's just going God mode.
Yeah, I mean, God, I could literally. Yeah.
Where do you buy this thing, Nick? If you were interested, where do you buy this? If you're not already long, like you're starting a brand new position or you're trading it, where do you buy this?
I mean, you put on a starter here. I think you put on a starter versus the 440. 20 days right there. And I think ultimately you're looking at trading versus 400 with a low of 366. So like, I just say 400 is the round number you're playing against. So whether you're buying lows on any pull-in, you think that might even come near 400, or
so when you say you're playing right here at 440 down to 400, are you prepared to buy from here down to 400?
No,
it's kind of where you get out, or
I'd probably throw in another entry at like 405, 406 just to make sure I get my fill at this point. But I'd probably have my stop somewhere. If I really didn't, I guess kind of depending on the market and what it was showing us, if I had a lot of conviction, I'd just throw my stop probably well below the gap at like literally 360. I'd probably get nervous if the 50-day got taken out, and I'd probably sell some, but I'd be trying to hold versus the gap low as like my ultimate line in the sand. But
so you definitely start rethinking if it broke below 365.
I mean, really, I would really be thinking it. I'd have to be considering like a shakeout move here if I was still long. But yeah, and I don't know. I would imagine the rest of the market would be taking quite a cool off if NVIDIA is under.
If that happens, yeah.
Yeah, if NVIDIA is under the 50-day, yeah.
What do you think, GP?
So your point here is against the 620 high, right? Which is 439.90, I believe so. We have now come back 2 days in a row and tried to get close to that 439.90, and yet we haven't gotten there. It's the uptrend, the mini uptrend that's kind of holding it together. If you look back and expand, it is literally forming almost the entirely same chart that it has been since it bottomed in January, on January 6th, right? When it retested the 21-week moving average and then took off. And everyone's still calling for the end of NVIDIA on every move down. And it's like, it's kind of getting old, guys. Wait for it, I guess is my, it'll be pretty clear in my opinion when NVIDIA breaks down. And to me, they got it up from 7 billion to 11 billion, right? And that's why NVIDIA popped like crazy off of earnings on a 60% guidance adjustment to the upside. What if they were wrong? What if it wasn't 11 billion? What if it's 15 billion?
20.
What if it if you look at Elon's commentary off the Tesla call on NVIDIA, right? Elon, the guy who's like, I want to just build everything myself, is praising, and he's literally saying, if they had more, I would buy more.
Yeah, no kidding.
What if their guide up was on the conservative side?
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say in this chart as of now that it's not just them, rotating and accumulating. And I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing some bigger moves because earnings should be coming up soon, right? When are earnings?
In 29 days.
Oh,
August 23rd.
Yeah.
A month.
So I don't think it's the end of NVIDIA here. I think a lot of people are gonna compare past, what is it called, past PEs and stuff like that. Is like, maybe they're wrong. Maybe 11 billion is not what happens and only comes in at 8 billion, and they're gonna get smoked if that happens. But what if that? And you can see the push amongst AI almost everywhere, right? I think a lot of companies are. What if their 11 billion is on the conservative side? What if that's 15 billion? What if it's 12? I don't know the number that it's going to be, but so far it seems like when you have one of the guys who's been an innovator amongst innovators praising NVIDIA chipsets and saying he would buy every single one that they could produce, it's kind of giving you the tea leaves, in my opinion. But that's me. That's not chart analysis.
So would you be a buyer here, or where would you be a buyer?
So I think if anything under 439.90 is a concern.
Anything under 439.90 is a concern.
The 620 kind of high, right?
I got you.
So that's it consolidated for 3 weeks, and then it was a 3-week tight or 4-week tight, and then it busted out to that 439.90 post earnings. So that's the level I'd be watching here, because when it took that out, it kind of created this little island top here. And so if this island top now it actually becomes an island top by gapping below, then you have your answer, right? But 439.90 is the place where I'd be long again. So you have $7 down, or at a minimum $34 up. So your risk to reward is what, almost 5-1 here if you're taking this trade.
That's pretty good.
And what a monster run that thing has been in this year.
It has been insane.
Yeah. But they the AI conversation didn't happen until much later in this chart. So buyers have been sniffing it out for a long time now, right? Whether they already knew about it through the channel checks and stuff like that is a different question. But they sniffed it out on January 6th.
Yeah.
So I'm just like I said, I think you'll know in the chart pretty clear if it starts to break down, if it's the end of the run. And if it's not breaking down here, then you could argue that their earnings actually might come in better than their guide up.
Oh, what I wouldn't give to have my 240 shares back. I'm okay though. I'm all right. How about we take a look at good old XBI? Last time we chatted, GP, you were a little you didn't like it as much as you used to.
No, that daily even looks like a head and shoulders here.
And yeah, it does. I gotta be honest. I don't like the look of it either.
Yeah.
I thought it might want to go back up and test up here the 90s, but I don't think she's got the gas for it. Maybe she does. I don't know.
So monthly is still bullish, right? But in a negative kind of way, right? So you have a monthly MACD cross on XBI that's kind of like flailing a little bit, but it's also the monthly MACD bull cross is happening in negative territory, right? So that's one thing to also keep in mind in these conversations. It's well below the 0 mark. So even though it's a bullish cross, it's not necessarily a 100% bullish thing, because it's still up. If that cross was happening above the 0 line, then I would say this is a bit more powerful. So you can have, but you still have, RSI divergences on the monthly. So there's still, it's a mixed chart, and like XLE, there's just better trades out there now.
Yeah. And that's kind of like my thing with roadblocks too. We've mentioned this on roadblocks specifically, but this applies to XBI too, is these wicks, right? Like when you see these long wicks push down, I mean, sellers are in control. When you see the long wicks pushed up, that means usually the buyers are in control. And to me, we're on the monthly here for the past, 4 months, it looks like a little bit of the sellers are in control, even though it did go up. Volume's fading. We go over to roadblocks, not on the monthly, but on the weekly. And it is nothing but push down, push down, push down. This is what you brought up a couple weeks ago on roadblocks, GP.
Yeah, but the thing I will say, and it still holds true, is that they're weakening, right? So if it's two scenarios, in my opinion, is there's someone who's trying to accumulate and it gets to that level and they start to let down. Or there's a guy who's holding from like 21 or whatever, or a fund or whatever, and they're trying to, as soon as it gets to a level that they feel like it's comfortable, they're selling off. But both of those scenarios in my conversation is at some point they stop. We don't know when that point will be. You'll know when the chart breaks out, right? But to me, is both of those scenarios to me seems good for the long term, because it's not heavy volume on the moves down, right?
Yeah, it's just chop sideways,
Yeah.
but it's in a sideways range.
Yeah. And you know what the range is? It's the range that whatever I think they announced in April or whenever it was that their metrics weren't as good, and then it sold off, and then it's pretty much stayed sideways since then. So earnings is coming up, I believe, next week or the week after, and that's a possibility to set it free or kill it, crush it, whatever. Right? I don't know. My general opinion says is set it free. If it's not this earning, next earnings, or whenever this whatever this annoying person is doing here. But this is part of the IPOs, right? Look at Uber. Uber took how long to kind of even get to this level, and it took it out and then came right back down and tested pretty much, it retested the lows after so long, and now it's starting to push up.
I think every Uber 10-week line test you get, you buy it.
Yeah. And what was the big distinction that was made and how the chart's now starting to look? They went profitable. Right? And ever since they've been profitable, the trend has been to the upside.
It's crazy how that happens.
What's your favorite setup out there right now? Like, not like that's either currently setting up or set up to go that hasn't triggered yet.
That's a great question, Nick. GP? Disney?
No, hell no. That thing moves, the thing that moves like molasses. So
that was a funny haha.
Ha ha ha. We've already talked about a couple of them. I think there's some powerful moves setting up in Netflix and Tesla, right? Those are pretty damn good earning reports, and they had their little shakeout candle. So false moves equals fast moves. So this is where I stand on those. If anyone hates Amazon as much as me, raise your hand, please. Can this thing ever move in any type of
exciting way?
Yeah. What happened to this thing? It's dead money, right?
Well,
it's up a lot.
I should have got off the train in Chicago.
You should have. But it's dead money, right? Ultimately, and Google's kind of the same. Maybe the earnings report sets them free.
Man, you are really shitting on my portfolio tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Google looks. I like the look of Google. Amazon just is boring as fuck.
Now let's let GP continue slaughtering up my pockets here. Go ahead, GP.
What did I say now?
Amazon and Google are just the worst. Dead money,
dude. So Google's been at what, 120 for like 3 months now. 2 months. It literally tagged 118 on.
This is the third month.
I mean, I like Google a lot. I think. I mean,
for the quarter, it has been dead money. Sorry.
Yeah, but you also have a weekly. You have a weekly MACD turning down now. After this long, you have a weekly MACD crossing bear. To me,
on a monthly though, the MACD just crossed to the upside though.
Okay, perfect. So that means it should get close enough and not cross down, or it'll be kind of a middle. Especially with earnings coming up this week, it probably doesn't cross down. It probably breaks out and does, because it hasn't crossed yet. So I didn't even check the monthly. I was just looking at the weekly.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these other names kind of follow the Tesla and Netflix and just see the low end of their channel. Or low end of the range that they're putting in.
Yeah.
Like as long as Tesla or like Google, like as long as Google stays above 115, that thing can just base sideways for God, like another however long it wants to go.
Exactly. Dead money.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to come prepared just to talk shit about Netflix and Tesla next week. Be warned.
I mean, well, yeah.
So I think there was a question about end phase, and I think this is a question that has come up for a lot of people.
Well, the question that Nick posed first was, what is our favorite setup that hasn't triggered? And somehow we went straight to Amazon. Well, I brought up Disney, and then it went straight to Amazon and Google being piles of shit. That's where we're at.
For me, a setup that I really like that has not triggered right now is Wayfair.
He's been pounding the Wayfair train.
I like Wayfair.
Looks toppy. Looks toppy as fuck.
It just looks like
I'm
shit.
dropping F-bombs here in the last quarter of the pod here. GP's got my blood pressure up.
Everything he says for the rest of this show.
Jeez, I need a drink.
All right. So XLE looks really good.
And he almost made me spit everywhere. Wayfair. What do you like, Nick? I'm interested.
Visa.
Other than Google.
Here.
Thank you for your endorsement on Google.
Yeah. I like Visa and MasterCard here.
Yeah, the fintechs look good.
I think they both are Visa. Visa, you're kind of like, I like to call this kind of like in the pocket here, where you kind of see these kind of like small little candles, like right along like the rising 20-day. Yeah.
Well, MasterCard already took out all-time highs, right?
MasterCard did. Visa didn't.
Yeah.
So like you have like a kind of a cheater entry here, with a pivot with another pivot through 245. But I also like JP Morgan a lot too.
Oh yeah.
And Square. I know Square is becoming like my favorite setup for whatever reason.
It kind of looks like Wayfair.
Yeah, for sure.
Without any of the accumulation.
Yeah.
I think almost everything
volume.
in the XLF looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, pick a bank other than Citibank, and I think it looks pretty good, honestly. But JPM looks awesome. It's really set up, I think. Probably this 160s area, at least in the short term.
How much did we talk about this in March?
A lot.
How banks were retesting a 13-year consolidated breakout. And everyone's like, banks are dead. Here comes another crisis.
The banks are going under, blah, 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 blah.
Because of because of risk-free treasuries. Can you at least manufacture a crisis that's actually plausible? Like, I feel like they're running out of ways to manufacture crisis. Anyway, I'll get off my little.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. A chart that doesn't look terrific, but I like is Target. It has earnings in 3 more weeks. So I'll probably wait to see how that goes before I take any type of action, but it's holding what it needs to hold. So I respect that.
So yeah, I was actually looking at Target and it's starting to look a lot better.
Yeah, crossover on the RSI.
Yeah, I still think it probably needs a base for another 1 or 2 more earnings potentially, to kind of show that the trend has changed.
I mean, Walmart looks.
We talked about Target and like all the refreshes of when was that? That was a while back, right?
About a month ago.
About the refreshes about their stores, and I was like, that's going to help bringing in. And so you're starting to see it on the charts as well, right? It's starting to kind of base and bottom, and it's funny how all that stuff works. You notice something anecdotally with your eyes, and then you start to see it in the charts, and it shows up.
It's been a really good 52 weeks for Walmart, Nick.
Yeah, I love Walmart. I mean, I don't like going to Walmart, but I love that monster freaking 3-year base it's got going on the monthly.
A chart that was brought up, I don't know, a couple weeks ago that we said is in forever downtrend, that there's really not a lot of interest. I think they have earnings tomorrow. 3M, they do have earnings tomorrow. This guy looks like it wants to break out. And I draw a little line there.
3M back to 200. Let's go.
And I draw a little line right here. And I think above like that 107, 3M's got some turn up to it, maybe. And not fast, quick, fast like coin and Rivian and some of these other fast runners that we've run into, but not the worst potential trade above 107, in my opinion.
No, I'm on that.
GP, would you like to shit on that thesis?
No,
Come
on,
just a
I
little
still
bit.
have my mark at 90.29, and it got so close and it never got there. But you pretty much had capitulation volume sell off on the monthly, and it's obviously had a little bit lower down, and it's starting to find its footing here. So it's nice to see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our good friend Pratt says Hood. I think Hood fits the same camp as what we were talking about with Coinbase.
It looks good though.
I like it here. You know, it defends this 1250 level. I think it's fine above 1250. Below 1250, you start running into the 9. The thing that is tough in all these trades, and you guys can, or all these charts, and you guys can either back me up or tell me I'm crazy. But when we get so overextended and these moving averages so far apart, it usually means the parabola is coming to an end and they kind of start getting closer together. And that's a correction of time or price, right? So the way to get those closer together is that. That doesn't mean that you want them to go flat again or necessarily cross again, but they're really extended up here. And I think it can still go higher, but like Coinbase, it might need to digest some of those gains for a little bit.
If people are trading the same names kind of over and over again, a lot of these stocks personality kind of take to some of these moving averages, whether it be the 10 or the 20 or the 50. And so if you're going to be involved in a name, it's probably good to kind of pay attention to those things, because, you know, if the 20 days, the moving average that it generally respects, and all of a sudden you see the 20-day break, you know, there's it may just be a warning shot, but it's also kind of a character change as well. So,
and you can spot those in the chart. You just go back and see, like, what happened the last time it broke the 20-day, or what happened last time it broke the 50, or whatever moving average you're looking at.
Yeah, that just look back the last year and just see what moving average it tends to kind of respect or trend along. And that's kind of
hard in these charts when you don't have a lot of history, right? Like in these
for sure.
So it gets a little bit hairier when you start to kind of expand on your time frames, because there's a lot of basing and chop, and so it will kind of gyrate between the 20 up and 20 down and 20 up and 20 down. So I think that's where it becomes difficult for me to find a personality when things are just basing, right?
Say that again.
It becomes difficult for me to find like a clear personality in charts like this. This is why I look at for charts for like 10, 15 years of history, because you'll see more prominent personalities of charts, so to speak, right? Whereas these, basically, Hood has been sideways since December 2021.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm saying on like just even on a shorter time frame, you know, you can just look back over the course of a year and just see whether even if price is kind of within a big range, you know, like Hood, you can. I guess I'm kind of just looking at it.
It's pretty much kind of gyrated between up and down between the 20, the 200, 20 to 200, the 50. It's like I'm looking back at the last year and I'm like, I figure out no personality in this. So I'm curious to understand what's the personality you're seeing, not necessarily in Hood, but in these types of cases.
It wasn't in Hood specifically. It was more of a general statement. But like Hood, for instance, let's just say these crypto names do start to break out. I'd almost at this point be and like hood holds here, it'd be right along the 10-day. So I'd be leaning and looking at the 10-day a lot more closely than any of the others if price continues higher here.
Yeah.
To your point, we are still basically, we haven't really accelerated away from, if you're looking back to like November, that kind of November high, yeah, we took out that high, but we haven't really accelerated away from that pivot. So I'm not really in the camp that we've necessarily broken out here. So exactly to your point, like range bound.
Yeah, I just don't know how to figure out the personalities in these charts that only have for 5-6 years. I like the ones that have lots of, like, you can go back and look at IBM, and IBM will tell you exactly what his personality is. It's literally
Sure.
the personality of doing jack and shit since 1998.
I mean, look at Apple's chart, for instance, right? Over let's just say the last 6 months. It's literally ridden the 20-day up. I mean, you can definitively say, like, all right, if price takes out the 20-day, I should probably sell some because, it's a changing character.
But
right?
Apple has that history, right? It hasn't
For sure.
been basing for a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and you can go back and look at Apple's history is when it has based for that long, what does it tend to do? It tends to behave this way, where you have only initial bases. Like, you can go back and look at Tesla, right? So Tesla as an example, we had a bearish week last week, but what happened in that bearish week? We had the 20 crossover the 50-day. Sorry, the 50 week, the 20 week moving average crossed over on the 50 week moving average, which is inherently bullish, even though there was a bearish candle, right? So the 20 crosses over the 50, you have a momentum shifting to the upside, yet everyone wants to short. So what are you looking at is that if you go back and look at Tesla, and when those crosses happen of the 20 and 50, it actually behaves the way I would have expected today or this week or the next few weeks, right? So I think that's personalities that you kind of have to look at.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, we're running out of time. You were going to say something about ENPH, yeah.
Yep. Earnings coming up. Looks like it had a capitulation candle on last earnings. They're going to have to prove themselves. It is now rejecting the 20-week moving average for me. I've been looking at this chart, and I hope it goes for you guys, but it's been pretty much sideways.
It has failed the 20 the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks. So it can break out this week. It looks like it's going to break out because even last week's sell was like, I'm selling because I have to sell, not because I want to sell. Everyone's telling me it's a bearish week. So the body of last week's candle was in the upper part of the candle in the prior week, is now pushing against the 20-week again. Earnings could break it out, and you had like a capitulation candle on that, but it's literally been sideways since October 2021, December 2020, something like that. So better part of the last 3 years. But what I think what you'll have here is that you have the 200-week moving average still rising, so it should break out to the upside.
Yeah, I think it looks all right. Not my easier charts out there, I think, but I think it looks okay.
Yeah, nothing's standing out, right?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the.
And last one, Unity Software, a name that I rode really well before its collapse.
Yeah.
I mean, the weekly looks better than the daily. Daily looks like it's trying to roll over a little bit.
Yeah, it's got volume. I think that's the number one thing you got to watch for here. So like it could chop and consolidate for a while, but that volume is saying that it wants higher over time.
Yeah, I do not disagree. If I were just looking at the chart, I mean, if I could get something in the 42s, I'd be really happy with that, probably.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to see it lose the 20-day at 43. If it dipped into the 42s, I'd want to see it come right back up above that.
I'd give it I'll give it to 33.
You give it down to $33.
Yeah, I really like you a lot. Yeah. It also got that moving average cross that GP is. Well, I guess I don't know.
But $33. Holy cow, Nick! I would consider that thing
On you.
Yeah, the letter U, Unity Software.
Yeah. I would love even a pullback to 33.
Are you in it right now?
5. Yeah, I own you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's got the 20 is crossing the 50. So typically, just as a bit of alpha, is when you start to get these moving averages cross up, you'll get a shake candle.
Yeah.
And when you get those shake candles on these cross ups, the trend continues to the upside, even though everyone thinks the candle is to the downside.
If I were starting here, I wouldn't wait till 33. Like I would.
No, I wouldn't either. I'd say.
Yeah. I'd want 42s, and hopefully the 20-day would hold, or it would recover and go higher from here because earnings is in 9 days. But if I were looking to place a stop, like it would probably be the 50-day. Below the 50-day, I would just look to buy back in around 33.
39.45 is my level. That monster volume candle high is the level that I would trade against personally.
50 days below that, so that would be the stop.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the area that I'd be looking for to hold on, like on a weekly basis is what I would say.
Yeah, the volume looks good, Tiger Johnson in the chat. I see what you're saying. I see what GP's saying. Again, I would want to see 42 stick, right, or something in the 42 stick, and then 43. So I think it can go higher, but you guys have heard me rant about earnings in the past. To me, it's a binary event. You can either go up or down. They're usually not sideways, and the chances are it going up is less than it goes down, just in earnings reports in general. So I feel like earnings reports are just reasons for people to sell stock. So that's just my 2 cents on earnings. Anyway, wrapping up time. We're running out, guys. I know we kind of already did our things we like. Anything that you guys want to touch on before we peace out?
Boeing was starting to shape up again after failing to break out last time.
Old BA.
Yeah.
It's still in the same place it's
Range.
been, Nick.
Yeah. I know. It's just taking its time.
Yeah.
I will say it over and over and over and over again. No thanks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's worse setups out there for sure, but yeah, it's how long is this now that we've been in this spot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 months now.
Yeah.
Oh, show.
If we go back over, what is that here? 297.44, then we can talk about potentially an uptrend. I'm being serious, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's the candle that we've been in. That was March 2020. Every single monthly candle since then has been in that one bar. That is ridiculous. That is what, 37 inside months?
Yeah. Jesus.
If you want, like, if you're trading, you're finding levels, fine. I'm talking about if you're investing for the long term, it is as dead money as you can imagine, right?
More than Amazon and Google combined.
Because Amazon and Google didn't dilute their entire company to survive a mishap that they could have easily corrected if they didn't keep kicking the can down the road.
I know. I'm just hurt about you dissing 2 of the larger positions in my portfolio. GP, that's
I have them too. I'm just annoyed.
Yeah, he's reverse jinxing it, Nick. That's what he's doing. He's talking bad so they go higher.
Hey, that works.
Man,
sometimes you gotta talk down to these hoes.
Yeah.
You do sometimes, but this is not the time. I think it's more just they haven't shown any earnings that say it's time to move higher. So there's a lot of premium collection in these names because there's so many people who own these names for such lower prices. They're like, oh, well, if it goes up 5% from here, I'm going to sell some calls because I can generate dividend income.
I know. I'll say one that I'm keeping my eye on is mRNA, Moderna. It keeps bumping into this. I mentioned this a couple months ago. Keeps bumping into this 120 range. It kind of looks like it's a little bit of a falling wedge here. I had it drawn somewhere else, but I don't know. Keeping my eye on it. It has earnings next week too, so paying attention to Moderna.
Yep. Baba had an interesting move today.
All of China did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
Nutties
the
was amazing.
bigger one I'm looking at, kind of like an overall consumer conversation, is actually Costco. It's been
In a
acting
bad
pretty
way
hard.
or a good way?
In a good way. Right? Like if you pull up
Yeah, we've
Costco,
liked cost for a while.
yeah. So like you have something that's kind of moving out of its kind of sideways basing pattern here, and this is probably one of the better indications of consumer health, right?
Yep.
So if you're looking at consumer health, what is one of the best consumer companies?
Forget Target. We need Walmart and Costco.
Costco breaks 570 and it's broken the pivot. It's going to all-time highs. That's all there is to it. I mean, and we just gave this trade away on the middle of May sometime before it broke through. We're like, hey, we like Costco, and what to do? Ramo.
But so Nick, you bring up a great point, right? You're looking at two of the largest retailers in this country on the verge of breaking out from all-time highs, while every macro conversation and every economic conversation is talking about the recession that's looming because of an inverted yield curve. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but these charts are telling you that the consumer is still pretty strong, right?
I mean, look at Goodyear tires.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm just threw out something like everybody has to buy tires, right? Like,
look at Ross Stores, ROSS. Sorry, ROST, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, Ross. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. These are our consumer. Look at Lulu.
Yeah, Lulu looks good. I like Lulu. I like my expensive ones.
Yeah, you do, Nick.
Right.
Nick,
so these are
the cheapies.
What's that?
Nick is not into the cheapies.
No.
But the reality is, all these charts, these are consumer facing, like retail stocks, and their charts look like they're on the verge of breaking out. And if you put aside all the fundamental thesis and you start looking at these charts, what is that? It's telling you that consumer health looks pretty decent here.
We're going higher.
Well, with that, guys, we are calling it a wrap. 68-minute show. A little disappointed in Monkey. I'm gonna have to twat at him. Monkey didn't show up for the XLE non-showdown showdown, so that invite is still out there for you
next week.
What's that, Nick?
We've got a week to really confirm a Monkey arrival.
Yeah, so he's retired and playing video games. He's like, I don't care about your crap.
Yeah, he's playing Diablo. he and Pratt stopped commenting. They're playing Diablo right now.
Exactly.
But hey, we really appreciate everyone for stopping in. We really enjoy these Mondays. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It really means the world to us when we get new subscribers. I posted earlier today that we want to reach these goals of getting our channel growing and to be able to post shorts for you guys. We really like to take the videos after we're done with them for the night and chop them up into little pieces. I think Nick and GP will start sharing some more of those soon as we get them.
Is the X's giving us an opportunity to process now?
Yeah. The
Okay,
X.
cool.
Last week we were able to process video, but if we're able to put them on YouTube Shorts, that helps us, and we don't have to worry about that. All of our content lives in one place. So we would love for that to happen. So please tell a friend to tell a friend, subscribe, like, comment. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, we'll be back next week